Good evening, 3/31/2017. Thought I'd bring you over here to my news feed while I air my little heartaches tonight, whatever you want to call them. Excuse me. Okay, well, even before my child was born, well, he might have been born by that time. Okay. My mom made me go to AA because I turned into a pothead and a drunk. Okay? By the time I was 18, I was having to go to, detox. And my dad had me pretty well figured out because he had been an army medic, but I was somewhat resentful. But after, years passed, I, of course, was grateful to my mom for sticking her neck out like she did to duel with me. Alright, so when I first got to AA in Sedalia, Missouri, I was like the only female alkie. Alright, and I was like late 17, early 18, something like that. And I was leery of a lot of these guys because, as you know, the courts will send some of them in. There have been problems in other groups, like one I saw on Internet Investigation Discovery of this guy that had been court ordered to go there. He ended up killing his girlfriend, but that's where I got my flyboy boyfriends. I picked them up at AA of all places. And some of them were pretty cool. Most of them, I guess, except for this one I remember. He was actually married, but he had gotten busted for pot, and he was doing having to go to military court for that. And then he told me the last time I saw him that he had a wife in St. Louis. So anyway, yeah, it happens. You don't want it to, but it does. That's why your sponsors there normally will tell you don't make any life-changing decisions within the first year, because you really, 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 really need your feet planted firmly underneath of you. So, after a while, after I started opening up a little bit, well, let me back it up even more to my very first meeting was when I had just come out of a treatment center over in Boonville, Missouri. And I went, and it was a chili supper night. And these men were actually being decent to me, and it scared me that they were being so nice. They were being so nice, it got on my good last nerve. And I got up and I ran out of there because at the moment, it seemed like, what is up with this? They weren't eyeing me, they weren't mauling me or any kind of out of the way thing. And I guess I just wasn't used to it. So I bolted. So that was my very, very first meeting. But then back to Sedalia, after they got to know me and I opened up, which took a while. It pretty much took me the entire year before I would actually say anything. But they had me be their secretary, treasurer. And there were several groups around, and I attended most of them. And of course, I had to get keys. Well, what I started thinking about was who I refer to as SS in Sedalia, the social workers. See, all this crap came down on me when both John and I were sober, and I had a lot of years, and he had quite a number of years. We met in the program. And the first time we met, this guy that normally I would ride to an out-of-town meeting over in, well, 2 out-of-town meetings. One in Lamont on Wednesday nights, which is like 8 miles from Sedalia to the west, and one to Marshall, Missouri, which is like 32 miles north. But he told me after I got in the car that night, and I always gave gas money. Mom, if I didn't have my own money, Mom would give me $2 or $3, say, here, give this to, watch his face. Excuse me. So I didn't come off like some little bum, And so he said, we're going to go pick up a new guy tonight. I'm like, oh, okay. So we get him, and not that first night, but the next meeting we went to together, John tried to hold my hand, and I wouldn't even hold his hand, because he was still married. So we started going out, and I just refused, because my sponsors were fierce about, within that first year, don't do anything. And if people do something to someone, if they have time and the new person doesn't have all that much time, like even a year, it's called 13th stepping. And you don't want to 13th step a newcomer. That's like, oh, I've got to get in your pants right away, because you're new and you're vulnerable and you don't know anything and you need me and blah, blah, blah. So I said, okay, I've got to see divorce papers. I've got to see, I have absolutely, most definitely will see divorce papers before anything. Because I wasn't going to go through all this craziness that so many people go through. I still had a head on my shoulders, even though I was sensitive, So then, like a couple weeks later, he brought the papers with him in an envelope, and he's like, look here, she signed them. It's official. So anyway, that was our little beginning. And, we met in May and were married in September, so it's like the epitome of May to September romance. Okay, so I had the keys to these places. And AA's permanent home in Sedalia was an old church that they turned into their meeting hall. Upstairs for the support people like the wives and girlfriends, where my mom would go. And, parents, whoever. And then the Alkies would go downstairs. And that was their permanent home. They owned that building. Well, then this little fight came along about where the coffee pot was going to be. The Al-Anons upstairs didn't want to interrupt the meeting. They felt funny to walk across, from the bottom of the stairs clear to the kitchenette to get coffee. So they kind of wanted it upstairs, but that's what branched us off, and then there were more meetings that grew from that coffee pot issue. We even had one in our house for a while because there just wasn't money after the splits to afford rent. So we had all this stuff in our house and hosted the meetings for a while. But back to the keys. I know I keep drifting. The social worker, I think she had a fascination with the keys because I was their secretary treasurer in several groups for a number of years. Okay, so I would get there early a lot of times, fix coffee or set ashtrays out or whatever I was doing for them. I think she wanted those freaking keys because some of the temporary meeting places we had included like a what do you call them, savings and loan building, and we would go downstairs and they had the nice little kitchenette and the tables all set up, and we just paid like by the meeting time, which I don't know what they gave them, probably $10 a time. We're only in there for like an hour and a half or so, maybe 2 hours max. And then a lot of times go out to like Denny's and get some frappes of coffee and sit there all night if we wanted to. And then one time it was a different bank and a couple different churches. And I think she really wanted to get in those places where I had keys to. I think this was a big hidden part of her agenda. Do you see what I mean? Because places like that, especially the churches, because most churches, any of the ones I ever knew anything about, they don't employ guards. And like the church I grew up in, it had a big, like, nice tea service, a sterling silver tea service, the entire thing that had been donated by someone, and they had it on display, and this glass case right up on the wall. It was kind of high, but still it could have been gotten to if somebody had really wanted to. But places like that, especially the speakers, you know, and the musical instruments, people would they have broken into churches around there and taken things like that. So I'm like, our SS worker was the one I've told you about, whose son had been the cocaine dealer. And she's the one that my mom used to get so upset with and had to calm me down and say, "No, Veronica, you just let me handle this, you know." Because she was a redhead too. And mostly I think it was just a battle of wills a lot of the time. And she wanted to get into it with me. She's the one that one time said, "Nobody reports me or my family. I'm immune." And she boasted that immunity. Well, maybe on this planet, okay? But in the afterlife, I'm afraid not. That's not going to fly at all. But Mom found out the hard way that I was not making this stuff up. She thought for a really long time that I was just saying this stuff about her to, sympathy seeking. And I wasn't, and I swore to her, "Mom, I'm not doing that." And I made her start going with me if I had to meet with them, or being at the house if they were going to be there, so she could see for herself. And she finally did. She finally saw for herself, which was kind of a big weight off of my shoulders. But still, her and John both used to tell me stuff was all in my head. And I ran across a video today, and two things today actually. This one lady was going through this with her kids, where they had come in, and we didn't have the internet back then. We had a computer with Duck Hunt on it, that's it. Or I would have put pictures up to say, "Look, everybody, look, this is what she's calling dirty," like this woman did today. And I saw that in my newsfeed, so I shared it. It was like, not bad at all. You saw no stuff all over the floors. You saw no dog poo. You saw no torn up thing from the cat scratching the armchair or whatever. So when I saw it, I'm like, that's like me. That's what happened at our house. It's happening in other states. The stories are coming. And see, their mom even had John saying, "It's all in your head. It's all in your head." I almost became brainwashed with this crap. Well, now I'm almost at 15 minutes. And